Morning, members. We're going to start the meeting today by electing a chair for the meeting because the vice chair the chair and the vice chair are both absent. So could I ask for nominations, please, for the role of chair? Councillor Murphy.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Councillor Dupre, please.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Boulat. Are there any further nominations? Right, could I ask for all those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. Councillor Dupre is duly elected chair for the meeting. Thank you.
Good morning, members, and good morning to any members of the public or press who may be watching. Item 1 on our agenda today is apologies for absence and declarations of interest. So could the Democratic Services Officer please report any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. There are apologies from Councillor Kindersley and Councillor Coates is here as a substitute. From Councillor Dew and Councillor MacDonald is here as a substitute. From Councillor Howitt and Councillor Boulat is here as a substitute. And from Councillor Gowing.
Thank you very much. Does any member wish to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest or non-statutory disclosable interest, please? Murphy.
Just for completeness, I presume everyone here is aware I'm the shareholder representative of Pathfinder Legal Services.
Thank you very much indeed. That's noted, I'm sure. So on to the minutes at item 2, we're being asked to approve the minutes of the Constitution and Ethics Committee meeting on the 18th of June 2024 as an accurate record. Can I ask whether any member disagrees with the accuracy of these minutes? No, I see no objections to the minutes, so I will sign them as being approved. We move on to item 3, which is our first substantive item of business, which is council-owned companies governance. So in the absence of our Democratic Services Manager, I assume that our Monitoring Officer, Emma Duncan, is presenting the report, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. This is a report that has already been to the Assets and Procurement Committee for consideration, who have approved the recommendations onward to the Constitution and Ethics Committee, who will then hopefully approve the recommendations forward onto full council, because it will necessitate a change to council. On that particular issue, it will mean there is a recalculation of the proportionality requirements, but at the moment we do not consider that needs to make any changes to the overall balance or committee placings, just for information. So the council has a number of council-owned companies where the governance arrangements are slightly different. We're a shareholder in several large companies, in particular This Land and Pathfinder Legal. The council has a shareholder function, so through its shareholding can exercise control over the company's business plan and also other aspects of the company's decision-making process. This has been exercised by individuals in some cases, but fundamentally the responsibility now rests with the Assets and Procurement Committee under the changes to the Constitution that we made last year. There has been some movement forward in the landscape for governance of companies. Members will be aware of a number of council-owned companies that have fallen foul of management, and our auditors and the governance specialists in this area are very keen that the council gets a good tight grip on its shareholder responsibilities, and those are adequately scrutinised by members in our committee process.
Thank you very much indeed, Emma. Do members have any questions initially for Emma on the report or the recommendations? No. Any debate? No. I'm hoping, therefore, that means this is going to be agreed straightforwardly. May I see all those in favour of the recommendation, which is to recommend to Council the establishment of a shareholder subcommittee of the Assets and Procurement Committee to oversee council-owned companies and with terms of reference as set out in Appendix 1 of the report. All those in favour? Thank you. That is unanimous. Thank you very much, members. So item 4 on the agenda is contract procedure rules, and we have an update on this. So we have Claire Ellis, Head of Procurement and Commercial, with us to present the report, please.
Good morning. So that you have before you a paper which summarises the changes that we are anticipating making to the Council's contract procedure rules as a result of the forthcoming Procurement Act. So just a quick note that I have been to committees saying that that Procurement Act will go live on the 28th of October. We did receive an update from Cabinet Office a few weeks ago to say that that go live date's been postponed to the 24th of February. But as this was already on the agenda at this committee, we felt it suitable to continue to bring the paper. And of course, we'll delay the go live of the updated contract procedure rules until the 24th of February at the same time as the Procurement Act. So the Procurement Act makes considerable change to the way in which we are expected to procure and contract manage our contracts with external parties. The existing public contract regulations are based on EU law, and the government has taken the opportunity with our exit from the EU to build a set of regulations that fit the country's requirements. Section 2 of the paper takes you through a summary of the main updates. So in Section 3 of the contract procedure rules, there's now a list of objectives that we as a council have to consider when we are procuring. Those objectives have been set by central government. Section 4 contains an updated list of exemptions to the contract procedure rules. So this is where they don't apply at all. And Section 6 covers a much more detailed conflict of interest assessment. So this is a key part of the new Procurement Act. A conflict of interest assessment must be carried out at the point of procurement and then updated through the procurement process and through the term of the contract as well. So it will be a responsibility for contract managers. And that also includes potential conflicts, not just actual, conflicts. Risk assessment is another key part of the Procurement Act, and that's covered in Section 7 of the updated contract procedure rules. And that's another important update, that if we have known unknown risks, we can include those in tender notices and modify contracts according to those risks if and when they materialise. Market engagement is a key part of the Act as well, with a strong emphasis on engaging the market as often as possible when we're procuring. So Section 8 contains an update on market engagement. We also have a separate section now, Section 11, on light touch contracts, which we've never had before. And this is because the Act's treatment of light touch contracts is quite different to the current Act. So we've deemed it appropriate to separate out those requirements into their own section. There's also a lot more detail on the use of frameworks and what are now called dynamic markets. They were previously called dynamic purchasing systems, and those are covered off in sections 12 and 13 of the updated contract procedure rules. The threshold at which the Procurement Act applies has been updated slightly to 30,000, and that's obviously reflected in the procedure rules as well. And then their sections 21 and 22 covers contract management. So one of the really
Barely hear you, Claire. I don't know whether your microphone has now failed to function or whether you just need to speak closer to it. Can you try again? And if not, we'll change your microphone. We'll pause for a change of microphone.
that better.
Thank you. You look like you're doing a major press conference now with multiple
Thank you.
microphones.
Sorry, sections 21 and 22 cover contract management, which the Procurement Act regulates for the first time. So we've had to build in quite a lot more in the contract procedures on that as well. So that's a summary of the changes. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much indeed, Claire. That's very helpful. Any questions from members on the content of this report? I think it's Councillor Billat.
Thank you, Chair. I had a question on 16.4. I think it's really positive to highlight that we have a duty as a council that SMEs, smaller businesses may face a particular barriers competing for contracts. And I know there's some mentions around local suppliers as well and trying to encourage that as well. I was wondering, how are we evaluating or measuring that? Because it does mention that we must consider whether such barriers can be removed or reduced before starting procurement processes. So I was wondering what is kind of the framework to evaluate or measure whether we will be successful encouraging more SMEs or local suppliers as a result of our framework. Thank you.
So we anticipate building that consideration into our procurement planning process. So we will think about how we're structuring a procurement, the requirements of a procurement in terms of engaging SMEs. So for example, we might break a large requirement down into lots, which make it easier for smaller businesses to bid for. In terms of monitoring that, we already provide an update, and I'm trying desperately to think which KPI it is, but we already have a KPI on local suppliers, and as part of that, we also do look at how many contracts are awarded to SMEs. So we already have a means of monitoring that those arrangements.
Thank you very much, Claire. Any other questions for Claire, members? No? Any debate on this item? If not, then the recommendation is that to note that the amended contract procedure rules attached to Appendix 1 to the report will be implemented when the Procurement Act 2023 goes live, which is now on the 24th of February 2025. Can I see those in favour of noting that? Thank you very much indeed. Item 5 then is a review of the complaints received under the Members' Code of Conduct. So I'm going to ask the Director of Law and Governance and Monitoring Officer, Emma Duncan, to present the report, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. This is my usual update to the committee in terms of complaints received about members. As I mentioned, pretty much every committee, we are relatively fortunate in that regard that as a cohort, our members are very well behaved. So we don't tend to get vast amounts of complaints, and they tend to stay fairly stable throughout the year. Please carry on like that. We have this quarter we've had 4 new complaints, one of which has the decision notice has been drafted but hasn't been issued yet, and the others are still at assessment stage. We've got 2 complaints which have been subject to investigation, have been with the independent person, and I'm due to issue the decision notice later this week. So that'll be back to the committee in November at November's meeting to report the decisions and proposals in relation to those 2 matters being investigated. I think that sort of concludes the report. Really, it's fairly straightforward, but happy to take any questions that members have.
Thank you very much indeed, Emma. Any questions for Emma on this report? No. I'm not sure that there's much to debate in a report of this nature. Are we happy to note this then, please? Yes. Yeah. Good. Okay. We then move on, thank you, Emma, to item 6, which is the agenda plan. So, officers, do you have any updates or comments on the agenda plan? No, nothing further to add. Members, any comments or questions on the agenda plan? No, it's fairly straightforward, I think. Okay, in that case, we note the agenda plan. So thank you, members. That is the end of the meeting. The next meeting will be on the 12th of November. Thank you very much, and thank you to press and public for attendance. Thank you.